Welcome back again to University and everything in between. If you have been following along for the last few episodes, we are now on episode 6. We are officially halfway through. I can't believe it's exciting. We should have approximately 12 episodes of this podcast, give or take. We'll see what happens. But it's exciting that this marks the halfway point of this podcast. This week, I'm joined by the wonderful Rhiannon. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
I'm very excited to speak to you this week. We're going to be talking about lots of different things. I want to sort of take you back to your experience of first year. We're going to look forward to what it's going to be like for the freshers coming up this year as well. I wanted to try and do like a little comparison about like your A-levels versus university and because, you know, whether there's a massive difference, whether there's a huge learning curve, what people maybe should know, what they shouldn't, do, changes like that, because it is a big change after all. And we're going to have a bit of a discussion about that. And also one thing that I think a lot of people go through is how to find that second year house, because it's a problem that I've gone through twice now, and you know there's like it never goes smoothly, and it's a weird experience going around trying to find houses for the first time. It is a strange experience. And we're also going to like probably wrap it up with talking about like useful things to take to uni. You know, maybe when you're moving out, you always find like a bunch of stuff like, crammed in the back of a wardrobe somewhere, and you're like, why did I bring that? It's so pointless.
Literally, yeah.
So we'll probably wrap it up with a few like little random, bits about what not to bring to uni, what to do, that sort of thing. But it is really good to bring you on for the episode number 6 this week. I'm so excited. How have you been in general though? Have you been good?
I think, I've been good the past few weeks. It's been very chill, as lockdown tends to be. So I've not been doing a lot, but, just doing videos here and there, trying to do a little bit of uni work, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, all the guests on this podcast are all predominantly YouTubers, and it's interesting finding out the different things that you guys are doing in terms of, expressing your creativity and finding new ideas. We had Deborah on last week, who hosted a come dine with me with her house with her friends.
That sounds so fun.
It did sound like a lot of fun actually, and I checked out the video. It was quite funny to watch. But what's like, since you've been at home, what's like, would you say the most out there idea? Because a few weeks ago on episode 3 or 2 or 3, I think it was, Chelsea, she held her own like at-home graduation.
I watched that, yeah. I filmed, it was quite a while ago actually, I'd say it was about April. I've made loads of study tubers in like my study tube niche on Sims. I put them all in a house together, and I basically wanted to see who died last, and then unfortunately it was actually me.
You tried to kill them all.
Yeah, it was like Hunger Games. It was a bit weird looking back.
Did you put them all in the swimming pool? Is that the thing that happens?
I put one person in the swimming pool in the end, yeah, and they died, which wasn't ideal, but it was the aim of the video, so... But yeah, it was an odd video.
It sounds odd. Who were some of the study tubers? Was it like famous people, or was it just random?
I put in myself, some of my friends, so I'm trying to think now. One of my friends, Sophia, my friend Laura, someone called Lydia Violetta, Ruby Granger. Ah, yeah,
so you did put a few like well-known names in.
I was going to say, I had to make sure I put in people who I could actually get permission from first. So I was like, loads of these people aren't going to reply to me, so I kind of had to narrow it down.
Can I kill you on Sims, please?
Yeah, literally.
I mean, looking back, that sounds like a pretty wacky video, but I'm sure it was fun to make.
It's a bit weird. Yeah, it was fun to make, but weird.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're coming close to when this episode releases. We are going to be back at uni. You're going to be at uni. You're going to be in your second year. What are you most looking forward to doing when you get back to uni for this first term?
I'm just looking forward to like reconnecting with people from first year. I feel like because of lockdown, it's not been natural to talk to people on social media because I'm used to just doing it in real life. So I kind of feel like I've lost a lot of the friendships that I made at uni, but I think once I get back, I'll be able to like just pick it up where I left off.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to just seeing everyone again and reconnecting and spending time together and just having a good old catch up.
How's it been? How's it been trying to adapt to using like Zoom and things? Trying to connect to people doing Zoom. Have you done any like funny course quizzes or like been on a pub quiz on Zoom?
I've not any through uni really. I did one with my house for next year, but mostly I've been doing Zoom quizzes with my friends from home and my YouTube friends and stuff, and it's been very fun, but we've all kind of ran out of ideas for quizzes now, so it was like we were dragging it out.
Let's do film trivia, music trivia.
Yeah, I mean, I got to a point where I think I made a quiz like finding people's old messages in our old group chats from years ago.
That's a risky one.
Yeah, and we had to like guess who sent it or something, and it got a bit weird, and after that I was like, I don't really know where to go from here.
You kind of like pushed the boat out quite far at that point with rummaging through people's old messages. It's a recipe for disaster.
There was some weird stuff that we found, very weird.
Yeah, I can imagine. But I suppose, definitely reconnecting with people when you go back is going to be such a huge thing. Do you think it's going to be like, I mean, I assume you've been meeting up with people anyway, but I remember especially after the first few months of like solid lockdown, when I finally met someone in person that wasn't a member of my family, it was like, whoa, this is weird.
It was very weird, yeah. I've been seeing a few of my friends recently now because I'm currently in like a one-person household. Right. So I've been able to meet people properly and actually like, hug them. Oh my God.
Big thing.
I know. So I've been enjoying that, yeah. It is weird seeing people again, but getting used to it now.
You mentioned it to me in the pre-interview thing that we had about what course you do, but could you just like let us know and give us some context about what you actually study?
Right. So I do psychology, so we do 5 modules throughout first and second year. So we've got research methods, language and development, social and personality psychology, I'm trying to remember them, brain and behaviour, and perception and cognition.
Whoa.
So there's quite a lot, yeah.
You're like a walking pamphlet.
I can't forget them, they've been drilled into my brain. But yeah, some are definitely more interesting than others depending on what area you prefer. So I'm not really a big fan of perception and cognition. Like we had to learn about vision and stuff like that. And I was like, this is very boring. It's very, very sciencey, which isn't what I'm a fan of. But some of it's really interesting, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. I mean, you've got to study something you really enjoy,
exactly.
Let's be honest. It's the one thing that you get to study at university. And if you pick it wrong and then you hate it, I've known people who hate their degree.
Oh.
And I couldn't imagine. But where does the idea of the police detective work come from? Like, where's that sprung from?
I think when I spoke to you last, I'd come up with that idea like a couple days before we spoke. So it was kind of in the stages
where it was sporadic.
Like, yeah, this is a great idea. I really want to do this. And now I thought like, no, thank you. Like, I don't know. I've thought about it and it's not something that's probably going to be that ideal because it's probably very invasive to your personal life, I can imagine.
You think?
Yeah, like if you were like working on like a murder case or something, that's unlikely. But
could happen.
Exactly, you can't
Rhiannon
rule it
Clarke,
out.
the local neighbourhood detective, working on.
But I feel like if there's like the family, they're obviously going to be upset. I feel really guilty going home and watching the telly and having a pizza, knowing that this family's still upset and we haven't found out why someone's been murdered. I don't know. That's a very niche thought, but yeah, it sounds like a very intense job.
Did you watch Sherlock Holmes by any chance immediately after coming up with that idea?
No, I didn't even watch Sherlock Holmes. It was just a very sporadic idea.
Would you say you're quite a creative ideas person? You come up with...
I think it depends. I think sometimes, but I often don't follow through with them. I think about it, I'm like, actually, maybe not.
But I mean, you are clearly like trying to pursue many different avenues of things that you could do eventually in a career. You mentioned also that you were thinking about doing something on Instagram with some sort of like business venture. Is that another one of those ideas where you kind of like, it sounds good on paper, but then you've decided that you don't want to follow through, or is it something you really are trying to passionately push towards?
So yeah, we have actually gone ahead with it. So I started selling like face masks online.
Okay.
My mum and I were making face masks with like different patterns and stuff, and I was doing the marketing on Instagram and selling them on Depop and stuff. So it's just like a little fun thing that we've been able to do together.
Do you have one on hand, or is it?
Yes, I do.
Could I have a look?
Go for it.
Please. Here we go. I'm excited to see it. We've had a few little show and tells on this podcast. It obviously doesn't work too much with just the audio format, but hopefully this makes it to the YouTube highlight.
So we've got this one, which I think's a bit weird,
cool.
but a lot of people have liked it. It's like houses and stuff.
Oh yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, that's cool. Is that all hand drawn?
No, it's just a fabric.
Sorry.
I was going to say. And then we've got this red and white one, which is
that's cool.
Nice and fun.
What's on that one? Is it just like little shapes flowers. And graphics and stuff?
Yeah. It's from my stepbrother's old shirt that he didn't want, so we were like, let's turn it into masks. Yeah, it wasn't worn actually, but it had been sitting around not being worn.
So it's not odoured.
No.
There's no odd smells coming off them.
I was going to say that would be a bit weird. I wouldn't want to buy that.
No, the unlucky person who gets the armpit section.
Oh God.
So how many designs did you make in the end?
We got I think there's about, I want to say 12 different fabrics that we've used, so there's a nice little variety. Yeah, I've not sold a lot though, so now I've got a lot of masks that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with if they don't sell, but at least there's lots of variety for me if I want to switch it up.
Yeah. Well, they said the university recently came out saying that they might offer free face masks to students for the first term of university. Are you pro mask?
Well, I think whatever we can do to get society back on track as soon as possible is good, and I think once you've been wearing it for so long, you don't notice it anyway. So I think if we're all going to wear one, it just makes it easier and will probably help the spread of COVID lessen, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine. And I mean, it's only in shops and stuff like that, isn't it? And tutorials and stuff. So it's not impacting my life that much.
Yeah, I mean, later on in this podcast, I've got a fair few little things that I'm going to throw out so you can get your opinion on that I've heard from the university lately and see what you're going to think of those things and whether you think they're good or not. But I think that those mask designs are really, unique, and I think trying to encourage people to be aware that this is an important change that they perhaps need to make to their life. The only concern about those masks that I have though is are they properly approved, like masks?
They're not like PPE standards, so like obviously a doctor couldn't wear them. But I think if you're just going into Tesco's and you cough or something, like it'll stop most of it. But yeah, it shouldn't replace PPE, obviously.
No, but it's still pretty cool, and I think it's important to try and commercialise the mask wearing thing a bit more. Not? Make them more attractive.
Exactly. I was going to say, I've seen so many like ugly surgical ones that people are wearing around the shops, and I'm like, and they don't fit properly around the nose either. They're like a little bit baggy. Yeah. So yeah, I think
they're a bit freaky. Like,
yeah, it's like we're in like an apocalypse or some dystopian kind of book or something.
No, exactly.
With people wearing them.
Yeah. If there was one design that you would want to make with one of those masks, what is it? What would you put on a mask? Some sort of like Sherlock Holmes, Benedict Cumberbatch with his like magnifying glass out. What would you make, or have you already made it?
Well, we made one mask, and we're not going to sell it because it's like not very appropriate. But we sewed some writing at the bottom, just under the chin where you can't really see it. Yeah. And we put am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
Yeah, go for it.
We put "fuck this," and then we thought maybe something to do with Boris, but it was getting a bit political at that point. We were like, no.
It's becoming more a political statement.
Yeah. Like, it's only a face mask, like keep it low key.
Yeah. Try not to go too intense with the health and safety. No, that's funny. I love that. I love that for sure. But yeah, going back to uni is going to have a lot of big changes, of course. But to start off with this discussion that we're going to have, let's take it back and maybe compare what A-levels in university is going to look like. Compare how they maybe were for your experience, whether it was a good experience, how you did with your grades and things like that, and how you compare the two. Whether university was more challenging, or whether A-levels was more challenging. So let me just start off with my first question. How did you find A-levels? Was it a fun experience, or was it a case of like no social life? You were just revising all the time?
Unfortunately, it was the latter. I worked really hard for my A-levels because I wanted to get to a university that like was a good university for my course that I knew I was going to be happy at. So I thought that if I chuck away my social life and work really hard at my A-levels, I can enjoy university. Yeah. So yeah, My school was very much a school set up where they wanted everyone to go to like, you know, a Russell Group university. So basically everyone was in that mindset, including all the teachers. It was honestly quite a stressful environment, but I got out of it in the end with grades that I'm happy with, and I got into York, so I can't really complain, and I've very much enjoyed my first year, so I guess I got what I wanted.
It sounds like your sixth form had a lot of high hopes for its students.
Yeah, some of it I would say was a little bit problematic, but...
I can imagine. Was there a lot? Did you feel there was a lot of that external pressure from the sort of sixth form to achieve those high grades, and if you didn't, you're sort of like, you're not worth it in a way, almost?
I think most of the pressure did come from myself, because I know a lot of people maybe weren't aiming for those high grades, and I saw that they were being put under pressure by the school. Okay. But I think because the school knew that I was probably able to do it myself, I was okay. But I remember people who'd got good GCSEs were all just put into this Oxbridge group in year 12, assuming that we all wanted to apply for Oxbridge.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I was like,
I know that.
Absolutely not. So yeah, it was kind of that sort of environment, very different to uni.
Yeah, we had a group like that who were like sort of earmarked as these are the Oxbridge candidates, and it's like, you know that it has to be that intense because these, you know, interview processes can last for months, and you know you might not actually get in. But I'm going to be speaking to some people from Oxford and Cambridge on this podcast, and finding out what it's really like and whether it's like worth it in the end. But on the day of your results, I remember my results day was particularly emotionally intense because I built up York as being like this holy grail on a pedestal. Like, I have to go there. So what was like emotions like on the day, and assuming that York was where you wanted to go?
I didn't place too much expectation on York because I didn't want to like let myself be upset if I didn't get in. So my insurance was University of East Anglia, and I'd also really liked that, and I did almost take an unconditional for it. So I was kind of like happy with wherever I went. I didn't want to just have too much expectation. I was also very jet lagged, so I just didn't really have any emotions. I've been to Florida, and I got back the day before, so I didn't really have anything in me to just feel emotion about it, to be honest.
You were just like, I am so dead to the world. Just give me the sheet. Whatever I get, I got. But no, exactly. I remember in GCSEs I was on holiday when I received my results.
Me too,
and I made it an absolute rule that I was not going to be on holiday for my A-level results, because I was just like, because everyone else gets their results ahead of you, and then I had to wait for an email that came like 2 hours late for my results, and it was so stressful. What was that like being on holiday? That exact thing
happened to me, yeah. So we were on holiday, as I said, and the email was supposed to come through at 10, and I was sat waiting until 10:30 or something for it to come through. So I was building it up for that half an hour, and it was such an anticlimax.
Was it?
I think, yeah, like, I got grades that were fine, I was happy with them, but then that was it, and I was like, right, what do I do now? Because I wasn't there to go and talk to my teachers, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was really upset that I wasn't going to be able to go to results day as well. I was quite angry with my mum about it, bless me.
You take it out on your mum?
I did.
What did you do?
Well, she came back from her friends and she'd had a few drinks, so I just basically sat her down and told her how I felt, and we ended up having a very deep chat about it. But yeah.
Oh, poor mum. I'm sure you're fine now, of course.
Yeah.
Thriving at university.
Of course.
But how might you compare university to A-level? I'm going to let you, take the rein on this, but how would you compare it? Because I feel like a lot of people, in my mind, especially when I was building up to going to university, it almost felt like I was never going to leave A-level, if you get what I mean. Like, it just felt like you hyper-focus so much on the exams that you almost forget that you do actually leave eventually. How would you compare
I get that. I found university so much more independent and free, and I had to be so much more self-motivated than I was at school.
Definitely.
In my school, we literally weren't allowed to leave at all until 3:30 or whenever it was. Like, we had to stay in for all of our free periods. It was so strict. So the fact that I can just not go to my lecture, I can get up and go whenever I want, like, it's very different, and I do have to like actually force myself to do the work a lot more, whereas obviously the school gave us allocated times to do our work, so it was much easier to just organise and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different.
You get those free periods, don't you, at sixth form usually?
Yeah, and that was often when I did my work. I think I spoke to Chelsea about this a few months ago, and she said that university for her was very similar because she'd gone to a college and she was a lot more independent and stuff. So I think it just depends on your A-level experience.
Definitely, yeah. There's definitely an element that I can relate to about, you're way more independent and you have to self-motivate yourself to do work because, the flip side is with the very structured environment of sixth form, versus, you maybe have 1 or 2 lectures a day and then the rest of it's just free to do whatever you want. You could work as much or as little as you like. How did you cope with maybe improving the way that you treated that freedom at university? Because I'm assuming that you realised that perhaps you got to work harder or work more or work smarter maybe?
I think work smarter was probably, what I went for. I realised that I couldn't work in my flat because I knew that if people were in the kitchen, I just wanted to socialise. So if I wanted to do work, I kind of set myself a day where I would go to the library, put my headphones in on my own and just be completely focused and do it all then. Yeah. So I really had to kind of give myself the right environment for it. I think that was quite important.
Yeah. Definitely, I've seen a few people try and do work in the kitchens in their flats, and it just doesn't work. You just get so distracted.
I mean, someone will come in playing music, and then someone will come in and cook. Someone will come in and talk to you, and then you'll be in the conversation, and then it will be 2 hours later, and you've written one bullet point or something. Yeah,
it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's why the library's there. But yeah, I mean, I remember in my sixth form, I had no idea why I did this. I remember, in comparison to, how strict sixth form can be in compared to uni, I mean, I'm not advocating this at all, but in sixth form, before my first exam, I don't know why, me and my mate decided to go to the shop and buy some beers. And we drank them.
Why?
At a park. I have no idea.
That's such year 11 behaviour.
I know, it's so immature. No idea why we did that. And then on the leaving day, I think it was after exams finished, we did the same thing. Exams had finished, it was coming up to the end of term, and we bought some more alcohol and decided to drink it on the park again, and we ended up getting caught by one of the teachers. And she threatened to take us to the head teacher and get us kicked out. And I was just God. Holy Christ.
Did your exams go all right after having your beer then?
I would definitely recommend that. Is probably one of the worst things I ever decided to do. It was such a bad idea. It was my AS history exam, and I was trying to remember detailed examples of Julius Caesar and the conquest of Britain, and I was I hadn't had that much, but it doesn't take much to lose all semblance of concentration. It was such a bad idea. Do not do what I did.
So we were taught in psychology that your state of mind affects your memory. If you learn something in one state of mind, you have to be in that state of mind to recall it. So when I was doing my exams, I was so careful about drinking. I wouldn't drink at all unless I didn't have exams for days.
Definitely don't do what I did. It's not a good idea. I didn't do it for any of the other ones. and there we are, I got to university. So, I mean, it didn't go that badly. But yeah, it's such a, seeing the comparison, someone could probably go way more extreme than I did, for example, at uni, and to a certain extent, not a whole lot of people would call them up on it, if you know what I mean.
No, totally. And I mean, did you have the problem in first year where you ended up being up really late every night for absolutely no reason, and then having to get up for your lecture the next day and you physically couldn't do it?
Have you been just working yourself into oblivion?
No, it was like people would be just about in the flat, and I couldn't just lay in bed and try to sleep while they were all about, so I'd just go and join in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it got to I think it was very rare for me to go to sleep before midnight in first year, which isn't very healthy.
Oh no, that was exactly what I did. I think everyone does that. It's just every night it's watch a film until 3 a.m. and then it's we did that so much in our flat, and it just gets to that point where you're just literally running out of sleep, and you're waking up to get to a lecture, and you've had 4 hours sleep. It's I
say it's not rare for people to fall asleep in a lecture or something like that. I think I have once, And I know someone who said she fell asleep in her tutorial and she got woken up by the by the tutorial leader, which is just very embarrassing.
Yeah, just getting
Bless
prodded.
her. Yeah.
But that is why it's like, it's obviously not something that anyone should change. I fully recommend doing that sort of stuff, because it's honestly some of the funnest times, just watching films till like 3 a.m. and it's like you watch so much stuff that you would never otherwise watch. But yeah, it can like massively, you know, result in losing a lot of sleep, and then you end up missing lectures and becoming that classic student trope of missing all your lectures. But you don't sound like you do that.
No, I did go to most of them actually, but I really did have to force myself to go to a lot of them. But I'm the sort of person where if I don't go to the lecture, I will literally not do it. Or I'll wait weeks and weeks and weeks before I actually catch up on it. So I know that I've just got to go to the lecture, because it just saves me a lot of stress down the line.
Yeah, I can respect that. I mean, if you know that you're not going to be able to do it, then I respect the hustle trying to get there and doing it, you know? But there is that very useful tool of, recapture, lecture capture, getting back and catching up. I mean, trust me, for second year, when you're going in, it's really useful. I'm not sure how much contact time you guys get at psychology, but lecture capture is a very useful tool, and I would definitely recommend, if you catch a lecturer who's not recording the lecture, you should definitely call them out on it, because it is an important tool and very useful.
It's a lifesaver sometimes, definitely.
Yeah, especially when exams come around. You want to have access to that information, because you might not always take down all the most important notes of all. But it's interesting when you mentioned as well about the social aspect of uni and A level. Like, I was exactly the same. Like, just lost all my social life. Only really socialized at uni. And wasted, again, I'm not a good advocate for proper A-level attitude. I wasted so many free periods in my first year. My first year, basically, I was getting D's and C's in all of my subjects, because I had just not realised that A-level was actually important to get me to university. So my entire first year, I just wasted every free period that I had, just messing around on computers, on my phone, or chatting with my friends, or playing football or something. And then on the results day for first year, oh my god, my parents ripped me a new one.
Oh no. At least you have fun though, that's what matters.
Oh yeah, like in hindsight, what a laugh.
Exactly.
But I absolutely pulled it out of the bag. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I pulled it out of the bag for second year. Like, bumped myself up like 3 grade boundaries in some subjects.
Up, yeah.
So, but that was because I completely sacrificed my social life. Like, I worked and worked and worked and didn't do anything else. But yeah,
it's really hard to achieve a balance between actually getting good grades and having a social life. Though, I don't think it's possible.
No, I'd agree.
At A level, no, I just couldn't have done it.
In terms of when you first arrived at uni, though, and you're coming into that first year, what were some of the things that you thought you needed to bring along with you, that perhaps then you look back and think, why the hell did I bring that? That is such a useless thing.
I'm trying to think. I brought a big Jamie Oliver cookbook, and I think I used it once. My dad wanted to give me a present to take to uni, so he said he'd buy me a cookbook because it'd be useful. But you can just use BBC Good Food, and it's just as good, and there's so much more on there. So that pretty much sat in my room all year, doing nothing. Just
became a good doorstop every now and then.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other stuff that I brought that I didn't use. I brought a toilet brush, but they provide you with one.
A toilet brush?
That was a bit silly.
That is planning to the next level.
Well, yeah, that is typical me. I really didn't need to do that.
I don't think I've heard of anyone who brought a toilet brush to uni, I'm not going to lie.
I saw it in IKEA and I was like, I might need that. Because then if they hadn't provided one, yeah, it was about £1, so I couldn't say no.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's cheap. I mean, that's the classic as well, when you're going to university, going around to those pound stores and just picking up loads of cheap utensils and stuff. I remember doing that. It's a classic.
Of course, yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's a lot else that I brought that I didn't use, because we came to uni in the tiniest car, and it was me, my mum and my sister, so we did have to be really, really harsh with what we brought. So I think I did pretty well on bringing the right stuff,
Yeah,
usually.
it sounds like you were pretty smart. I mean, I'm probably the same as you. Like, I didn't bring that much stuff that I didn't end up needing to use. But there was a few things like, I remember people that I lived with bringing just way too many clothes. Like, I was living at the end of the main flat of 12, so it was there was like 4 rooms just at the end, and then there's like the big cut off where it's like the door to the flat, then the kitchen, and then it was like the rest of the rooms in the flat. And the room that was furthest at the end from me, her room was just absolutely a mess of clothes. Like, it's just absolutely full. And I was just like, you didn't need to bring that many clothes though, did you?
No. The thing for me was I didn't take a lot of clothes, but I bought so many throughout the year. Like ordering stuff for socials, and then I'd just go shopping in town and be like, oh, that's a nice top for a night out, let's buy it, and then didn't wear half of it.
I mean, I live with people who did the exact same thing, so I don't think anyone's going to judge you. But 2 things that I did, which I found hilarious now, is I know this one's really important, and it's I brought tons of paperwork with me. They do actually tell you on the university website to bring this stuff, but I was bringing it with the idea that I was going to, in my head...
But present it to someone when you like walked into your flat or something.
In my head, that there was going to be like some sort of like almost like an exam invigilator, just there ready to like tick off my name after like examining my documents, like some sort of checkpoint Charlie, like really like fine-tooth comb, just like looking through it.
Doesn't happen.
And no one asked for them at all.
No.
And I kept them in my room for the entire year, and no one touched them. But that's not to say you shouldn't bring them, because I have been told that it is quite an important thing to have on you. Stuff like passports and vaccine, like
definitely.
your up-to-date vaccine stuff. Like, I brought my proof of study letter as well. With the
I brought my acceptance letter as well, like the little grey one that they gave you through the post, which was a bit silly. I think a passport's good to take though, because like I was supposed to go to Croatia with netball, so obviously I needed my passport for that.
Yeah, you need that, yeah.
Yeah, and then like some people like, lose their ID, so, they're brave enough to take out their passport.
Oh,
so,
I'd never do that.
I couldn't do that at all, but I mean, it's there as a backup if you need it. Yeah, I was going to say, if you can lose your ID... like, you really don't want to take out your passport.
Exactly. The chances are you're going to lose that as well. But a thing that I brought that literally never saw any use was this huge bottle of, like a keg of dark fruits. I hate dark fruits. Like, I don't know why I bought it. It was like classic, like, ooh, what should I get? And there it was, just the 15, 20-pound keg of dark fruits. It sat, like, not to bring up the thing about the doorstop again, but it literally sat as a doorstop for a month and a half because I never touched it. It was kind of just like, you get to uni, you think people are going to be drinking like these, fun, fruity ciders and stuff, and here someone comes out rocking a whole bottle of vodka, and you're just like...
I was going to say, you want the most efficient drink, don't you?
Yeah. I'm just there with like my tiny little tap on this keg.
No.
And there's someone who's with like a 70... I don't know what it was, just like a massive 70% bottle of like absinthe or something.
Oh, God.
Mental.
We had someone who managed to get a massive good deal on Corona beer though, and this was before coronavirus as well. So I think he had about 45 bottles of Corona for like, 45? I don't know how much, something like that. I might be wrong, but I think he did use most of them, to be fair.
I'm not surprised.
It saves you buying them. Yeah.
I mean, it saves on return trips. Like, you could probably last a few weeks on 75 bottles of Corona. There's a lot of like really helpful websites online that can do a lot of like, checklists and stuff, and I think making a checklist and being realistic about what you actually need is a good thing to do. But
you can always get your parents to send stuff up as well, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the great things. It doesn't matter how far away you live, you can send things through the mail all the time. But what are the essentials that you think that you really benefited from taking? Like, and I've got a few that I can start as well.
This is more of a girl thing, but I took a reed diffuser, and every time I walked in my room it just smelled of cotton, and it was lovely, because I was really worried my room was going to smell, because that's just not nice. I don't know, like, uni halls, I just feel like they do have a smell. I don't know. So I had this nice little cotton reed diffuser and the Palmer Violet air freshener, and it just it made my room just a really nice zen atmosphere for me. I wouldn't say that's an essential really, but
no, that was probably the opposite of an essential.
It's just nice to have, I guess. But yeah, for me, I used in the kitchen, for example, I used my frying pan all the time. You definitely need a frying pan and Tupperware as well.
Yeah.
So like I stored a lot of like, you know, my makeup, my stationery and stuff in Tupperware, then obviously like meals in the fridge if I cook too much. And one thing I didn't take, which I really should have done, was a tray. So I was stealing other people's trays for all of first term. And a tray is such an essential. I just didn't think I'd need it because I'm not the sort of person to eat stuff from the freezer. But it is just so much easier. So I ended up buying one in the end. How easy things change. Yeah, literally. I mean, I was always that girl to like, you know, make her own chips and stuff, but oven chips are a lot easier.
How long were you trying to make your own chips before you decided like, actually, I'm just gonna cook from frozen?
To be fair, I made them throughout the whole year, but by second term I kind of started to mix in oven chips a bit because it's like they take like 45 minutes to make your own chips. So I just haven't got that time. But yeah. They are a lot nicer.
It's worth it. Yeah. But maybe save it for a weekend when you've got a bit more time or something. But I think especially like it's interesting to mention like cooking and things. For me, cooking was one of the hardest challenges that I'd ever faced at uni, like trying to figure out how to cook. And in terms of like some essentials, definitely just bring like snacks and bits that you can just eat when you don't have the energy to make a meal. Because so many times I was saved from just eating a quick, like, you know, biscuit or banana or piece of fruit or whatever. It's like
cheese
so
and
useful.
Crackers as well. I had so many cheese and crackers, yeah. It's a bit weird. I feel there's two camps with uni cooking though. Like definitely. Some people, like I was definitely somebody who was happy to cook because I've got a family who all cooks and I usually join in and stuff like that. And then there's the people who literally don't have a clue and make sandwiches and ready meals, and then you like congratulate them when they like make a pasta sauce or something like that. So yeah,
very wholesome. There's probably way more than 2 camps of different uni cookers.
There's some in between.
It's probably like 4 or 5. But yeah, snacks are so useful, like just random, whether it's cheese and crackers or whether it's just random like bits of biscuits and sweets and stuff. I think it can be very useful. And you know, just when you're packing your clothes, I remember I found just comfy clothes were like so useful because, you know, when you're at uni and you're away from home, just having my dressing down was like quite a nice reminder of like relaxed. This is when I'm relaxed now. So yeah, having comfy clothes to wear I think is important too. I think another thing that's good to bring along is an airer. Did you ever use an airer?
Yeah, only 2 of us brought one. So I brought one and then someone else brought one. And everybody used them. So there was just 2 airers in the kitchen and it was so useful because, I mean, if I did bed sheets or something, I'd use the dryers. But do you remember that there was a little dusty thing? You have to take all the grey dust off. Yeah. And it's just disgusting. Like, and then you've got to pay another, I think it's £2 to use it.
Such a scam.
It's horrid. Yeah, I would just much rather use a dryer, an airer. Sorry,
an airer. But they are so good. Like they're cheap, and as you say, if you're the one with the airer, you're like king of the hill. You know, everyone's going to be wanting to use it, and it is such a good like little thing to bring along, and it's cheap and easy to use.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can use it in your house in second year as well, so it's a good investment.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, a natural thing you want to bring along is like pens and paper and stuff. I think trying to get away from the trope of it, like laptops are really useful, of course. Like I have a laptop, I think you have a laptop, obviously, but like, you know, not feeling pressure to have to buy a laptop. Do you think that there's a pressure at uni where you have to buy a laptop?
Especially an expensive one as well. I mean, the amount of people I see with like really nice MacBooks, it's pretty mad, and they're expensive. But I think pen and paper is absolutely fine, and I think I prefer it sometimes depending on the lecture.
Yeah, it's a bit more rustic, it's a bit more real, you know, you feel like you're actually being productive.
And you can draw little arrows and stuff as well, because I fiddle about with my bullet points and then I miss what the lecturer is saying because I'm like messing about with the formatting. Yeah. So sometimes it's a lot easier to just do it old school.
So it helps you focus. I think that's an important thing to take from that. And then just circling back to the last thing, you know, like with using pans and trays and stuff like that, like I became quite an avid cooker, and I think that's become obvious throughout some of these episodes that I've become quite an avid cooker over the last few years. But taking like some of the basics is like a nice big pot, like one of those, like a big pot pan, because you can do so much with just one of those. At medium size, it's pretty useful. Frying pan, just a medium size, is pretty useful. And you know, a tray, as you say, and you pretty much can be able to do most things in the kitchen. You'll be fine for most of it, and you can gradually build it up as you go.
You can always nick your flatmate's stuff as well.
And there's that, yeah.
Yeah. I had like this mini pan, so if people wanted to like toast nuts or something, or do like one egg, like everyone could use my pan. And then I had a Pyrex dish, and other people had like loads of other different stuff. So like you're going to have so much kitchen equipment within that one kitchen.
A lot of people, when they go into York, and I was the same, and I live around here, you know, near York, and I was the same. Like, it is quite confusing to begin with where things are and how to navigate York. Did you face the similar situation of, you know, where the hell
absolutely.
am I?
Yeah, I had to get Google Maps up all the time, and I'd been to York a little bit when I was younger, so I was like, oh, I remember Clifford's Tower, oh, I remember York Dungeons, but it was like connecting it all in my mind. And during Freshers Week, our sticks would like take us around York at night, and we'd all be a bit drunk. So we were just literally blindly walking around York, not knowing what we were doing. And then in the day, it's like, oh, so we were here last night.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit, it was weird. But I'd say by November, I started to get my head around it. But I'm from a very small town, so for me, York is actually quite big.
I can imagine it's like a bit of fish out of water situation. But there's definitely a disorientation when you're outside on the nights out, and then you look at it and it almost looks completely different in the day.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. But like you get to know two different maps of York as well. I mean, it helps also because the clubs are not in the town centre area where you'd go shopping. But yeah. Yeah,
the drunk version of the map is just lots of squiggly lines and all in certain specific spots.
Yeah, I was going to say Salvos to McDonald's to Merchant Gate.
It's not a very varied map.
No.
not at all. How was your, like, when you actually moved in, how was that experience, you know, meeting your sticks for the first time and stuff like that?
Moving day was a weird day. My mum wanted to get there really early, so we were kind of done by about 1 or 2. So everyone else was still moving in. So I was in this awkward position, like, do I go and like make friends with people, or do I sit in my room on my own until that they can like actually talk to me?
Yeah.
Our sticks didn't arrive till the evening. I don't know if they were meant to do that or not, but they weren't really there for most of the day.
Yeah, I don't think they were meant to do that.
No, we got told that they probably weren't meant to do that, but they were good through the week, so it's okay.
They redeemed it. Oh, right, fair enough.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we all sat in the kitchen together after everyone's parents had gone and set up the Wi-Fi together, and that was kind of the first time that we all spoke. And yeah, it was nice, but very weird and surreal. Yeah,
I'm just as you were describing it, I was getting like memory flashbacks to my first move in. It's so weird looking back. It's like almost doesn't look the same as when you move out. But how did it compare to when you eventually moved out? Was it more anticlimactic? Was it, you know, less as a big deal as you thought it might be? Because that was sort of what it was like for me.
I think moving in was quite a big deal, but moving out, obviously we didn't really know that we were going to be moving out permanently when we did move out. So we kind of all said goodbye thinking we'd see each other again in third term. So yeah, we didn't really have a whole thing about leaving because we all thought we were coming back. Yeah. So I don't really know how to compare it. It was just very chill when we all left, I think.
How did you get your deposit back is an important thing.
The thing is, I really shouldn't have done, because I stuck up, you see these here, I stuck those up on my wall.
Oh dear, that's the big no-no.
They
don't like those.
The biggest mess. I felt awful, but they'd just given everyone the deposit back before they even looked at the rooms because of, the whole situation. So, yeah.
What was it, just pulling paint off the walls and stuff like that?
Yeah, and the thing is, if I'd like been in York and stuff and I'd been able to prepare, I'd have gone to like, home base or wherever it is and got some paint and covered it all up, but we had 2 hours to move out, so that wasn't really an option.
Oh wow, it's tight corners.
Yeah, it was very tight.
Yeah, I'm glad you managed to get your deposit back though. It is sometimes a stress that first years go through about getting that deposit back, because you all are, there's 12 of you, 8 of you, 10 of you, how many of you are in the flat, you're all sort of responsible for the kitchen and then individual rooms and stuff. and it can be quite nervous.
Isn't it supposed to be a lot worse getting deposit back in actual houses? That's what I've heard.
Yes, it is. We're going to talk about second year houses now, because I'm going to put some bits of advice towards you about how to treat your second year house, and going to get your experience about what that was like. So how did you enjoy second year house hunting? Was it stressful because you have to do it early, or people tell you have to do it early?
It was very stressful because we knew by about November people were looking, people were signing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you don't know these people. Like, I wasn't about to be like, oh, do you want to live with me next year? I've known you for a month. I'm not really that close to you. So we kind of left it till about January.
Yeah.
And we knew while we were looking around that houses were just going like that. Like, we looked around one week that was absolutely horrible, and then we heard the next week that someone had actually put a deposit down on it, and we were like, oh God, like if that's going, like we're literally going to end up living in the most horrible place. So I think we looked around, I want to say like 8 houses. It was quite a lot.
Wow.
But in the end, we found a nice one, and it was a bit of a gamble because it didn't have any photos on Rightmove, so we kind of just read the description and we were like, we're very desperate, we're just going to look.
You read the description of a house without any photos and decided to go for it?
No, we looked before we went for it.
Oh, right, okay.
But we all had quite a good feeling about it, to be honest, because it said in the description that it had recently had like new bathrooms in and stuff like that. We were like, oh, like they must care about the house, that is good, that's always ideal. But yeah, it was actually very nice, so we went for it.
No, good. Like, it is a stressful experience, and I mean, you going around 8 houses, I think, is exemplary of the fact that people look for as many different options as they can. I think the most I ever searched around was maybe 2 or 3, and then we settled on one.
Yeah.
But we were for my first year, we settled on a house in first term.
Oh, okay, so that's good.
We didn't wait until second term. But I mean, I really don't think that you have to do it as fast as November time. Like, I think you can find houses that you like.
It does save you a lot of stress to do it early, I think, though.
It can do, yeah. It can save stress, but then you're also in the situation of you might end up deciding to live with people that you then don't end up getting along with.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's uni, you've got to take that chance now. It's not as hand-holdy in the environment as such. Did you decide to live with people that you were in the flat with, or did you decide to live with people that you're on your course with?
I ended up living with people from my flat, so yeah, it was just easy, convenient. I knew what they were like to live with, so
yeah,
I quite liked that.
You didn't want to take the risk of choosing people in your course, or people weren't really talking about it in the course.
Yeah, people weren't talking about it in the course much, and I knew that people from the course were living with their flat as well, so I didn't want to be that person to say, oh, by the way, like, can I live with you, blah, blah, blah. So I guess I just did what was easier, and to be fair, the people that I'm living with next year as well, like, don't tend to go out as much, so it'll probably force me to, like, actually do my work, which will be beneficial, definitely.
Yeah, so it's going to work in your favour, and I mean... Yeah. It sounds like for you that you've chosen a group of people that you wanted to anyway, but do you think, let's think of it on a more general perspective about people, do you think there's a pressure as such to choose people in your flat, or do you think that it's just the natural way of things and, it's just the easiest option?
I think it is just the easiest option. I think you've got to put yourself out there quite a lot to ask someone not in your flat though, which is probably... Yeah, so I think if I wanted to live with someone not in my flat, I'd have had to have, like, properly put myself out there and go speak to them and stuff like that. Whereas my flat, it was just easy, and the whole flat split up into 3 groups naturally.
Yeah.
So it just made sense, yeah. But I don't think there was pressure. Like, if I'd really wanted to, I could definitely have lived with other people. But
I mean, yeah, starting uni in 2020 is going to present, like, a lot of new changes, a lot of, like, new adaptations that people are going to have to make. Freshers Week is going to be in January. Like, the official proper Freshers Week is going to be in January. What do you feel about
that? Well, I think it's probably for the best. Like, I feel very bad for the freshers because I would have been excited to do it in September. So you're going to be at uni for what, like a term, without actually having a Freshers Week. Like, I don't think that's ever really been done before. It's a bit weird. But yeah, it is what it is. Like,
there's not really much that the university can do. Like, I think it's more like all universities are having to make these sort of changes. But I'm going to be a stick this year, or a head stick, and, you know, Faye is also sticking for Constantine College. Would you have ever considered to be a stick, or would you consider being a stick before you graduate?
I have applied to be a stick, so I think I'm sticking this year as well.
Oh, you are?
So yes, yeah. I don't think I would be a head stick or a stim or whatever. I don't really know, but I think being like a normal stick definitely would do that again if it goes well this time. What
are some of your assumptions then about head sticks? Because I feel like they get a bit of a bad rep.
Yeah, they do. To be fair, like I don't think I met mine, or I don't remember meeting mine. So I don't really feel like I can say much, but I saw a lot of them complaining about, you know, their sticks and their freshers on your fest. Like, but it mustn't be a very fun job. Like, I don't know, like, respect to head sticks. Like, I don't think I'd want to do it, so someone's got to do it. I mean, so, yeah.
There we go.
But I mean, I hope you're wanting to do it.
I mean, I applied to be a stick, and then they emailed me saying, we'd like you to be a head stick. So I was like, okay, well then, I guess I've got to do it.
But at least you haven't got, like, personal responsibility for all the freshers. Like, you know, you won't have to, like, properly deal with them one-on-one like, you know, an actual stick might have to. It's a bit more of a general role.
There's a flip side to it, definitely.
Yeah.
There is a bit of a negative press around head sticks, and, you know, hopefully I'm going to dispel that a little bit. But, I mean, it's weighted against me, for sure. I remember in my first year, there was a guy who was dressed up for one of the nights as a condom fairy, and he had a condom taped to his forehead and a little tiara thing, like Halo, whatever it was, and a pair of, like, butterfly wings, and he was going around. I think it was one of the...
That's very weird.
I think it was one of the... Like, they ran a night that was like a kink night or something, like some sort of, like, sex-related night out. That's a
bit odd.
It was that sort of night out, and one of the head sticks, I think it was a head stick, had decided to dress up as this condom fairy, like throwing condoms out to people, and it was one of the most, like, that was my first introduction to what a head stick is.
Oh, so yours will be very different to mine then, your opinion of them. That's just weird. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I mean...
don't really know what to say to that.
It's a bit of like a what the hell is going on? I don't know. I hope that the atmosphere around being a head stick is not that assumption that we have to be that, you know, ridiculous. Because it didn't really make me enjoy the week anymore, seeing these people, like, coming around the flats, because you can't get to know them because they just come around to just check up, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that atmosphere of, like, head sticks kill the fun. I've heard this before. I've talked about this on the previous episodes, and I've mentioned that already about not really being able to connect with you. I suppose there's also an aspect of like having fake power, like, if you know what I mean. Like, they're a head stick, but what are they really doing? You know what I mean?
Oh, I always get the impression they're quite serious, because obviously you've got to manage all the other sticks who aren't, you know, following the rules. Like, I know. Were you a stick this year? No. This is the first time I applied, and they did me dirty by making me be a head stick. I feel so, like, outed here. But no, I'm not serious at all. Good. I was going to say, I heard stories that I think one of the flats near us, on the first night, one of the sticks ended up so drunk that she had to sleep in one of their rooms, and then they both got de-sticked. And, like, I've heard a lot of sticks and freshers getting off and stuff like that, maybe after Freshers Week, maybe not, I don't really know. But yeah it's you've got a lot of sticks to deal with, and not a lot of them will follow the rules.
But I'm gonna flip the tables back onto you now, because you're trying to be a stick, and all right, head sticks might not be the life of the party, but sticks get a lot of stick as well. Not to be too punny there. This is what you come for. Great content, obviously. But, like, sticks get a lot of bad rep too, and, like, you must know some assumptions about sticks. I mean, I've got a fair few that I can throw out.
Yeah, well, at first, I remember we were like, what are these sticks? Like, we don't want these people. Who are they? We were going to make a group chat without them, like, and we were laughing at the fact that they were called sticks and stuff like that.
Oh, dear me.
Like, yeah, like, I think we did get really good sticks, though, so I don't really have any proper negative assumptions about them. I think they're usually pretty fun. They might not follow the rules, but they probably won't get caught because they'll probably be sensible about it. There was one stick that was in one of the flats above us, and someone had been sick in the little lobby, and we were doing the whole spillage is lickage thing, and he licked the stick, and I was just like, that's not the example you want to set to the freshers.
That is rank.
We were all literally so disgusted.
Oh. He probably thought, oh yeah, this is so hardcore. This will show I'm like the cool one.
Yeah. No.
That is mad.
Bless him. He is a nice guy though, but
yeah,
bit of a questionable decision.
Just based off of that story. But like getting off with freshers is a classic one.
Definitely.
And I mean, you've mentioned it already. But Langwith last year was sort of like stereotyped as being one of the worst colleges of the year for in terms of that. I knew one of the the college like committee who ran the Freshers Week for Langwith, and they were telling me like it was something like a quarter or a third of their whole stick team had got de-sticked because of like getting too drunk or getting off with flatmates.
That is awful. Wow. Definitely wasn't so bad in Constantine, I don't think. That's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say I only know of people who really got with their freshers after Freshers Week, so obviously they can't be reprimanded for that. God, I don't know what to say, that's quite bad.
I'm so shocked. I can't believe they've done this.
I mean, and the flats do have to go without sticks as well. Like, I think one of my friends was in one of those. They had to kind of join onto another flat or kind of just do it themselves, and obviously they didn't really know what they were doing. Like, we would have been a bit lost without our sticks, because obviously, like, how would we have found the bus stops and, like the buses and stuff as well? Like, we wouldn't have known about the 10 singles for £10 without them, and, like, yeah, we'd have just been a bit of a mess. And they were the ones who kind of got the prees going, because we were all a bit awkward, like, we didn't know each other, so they'd be like, right, we'll set up Ring of Fire or something like that.
Yeah, if you get good sticks, they do make the Freshers Week
100%.
a lot better. Yeah. Are you gonna be a good Are you gonna be a good stick? That's the question.
I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I'm not the most loud and get the party going kind of person, but hopefully like I'll be able to get to know them, and like the quieter ones as well. I want to like make sure they feel included, because I think there's a lot of pressure to be loud and out there and getting really drunk and stuff like that. But obviously not everyone's into that. But yeah,
no.
The girls that I'm paired with will hopefully make it fun, and we can be a good little threesome.
A good team, yeah.
A good team. That's a better choice of word.
I saved you there.
Yeah.
You can thank me. No. But yeah, like, as you said that, like, it's important to include people who maybe aren't as keen to drink and stuff, and I commend you for that. I think you'll do well,
Thank
and
you.
I hope you enjoy it, because that's the main thing. You got to enjoy it. But, that first moving in day, I think you're still going to be involved with like moving people in, because I don't think it's completely disbanded in terms of that first term. Freshers Week in first term is now like degraded down to a welcome week.
Yeah.
So it's not going out as much. It's more just like introducing people to societies and groups and maybe like local committee events. How are you going to manage that, do you think? Do you think it's going to be worth it as a stick to do it this year?
I don't know. It's going to be very different to what it had been like last year. I don't know. It's going to be extremely different. So I think we're just going to have to place more emphasis on actually getting to know the freshers and stuff like that, rather than just drinking with them and, preeing with them. Because, I mean, part of the reason I applied to be a stick as well is, like, you get the wristband to go out all week. So, I mean, obviously I wanted to do the sticking as well, but
obviously.
Of course, but it's like a good opportunity to be able to go out and have fun and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just going to be very different to what I expected when I actually applied, but I think it'll be a good challenge, and hopefully next year we'll get the full stick experience.
Oh, I can guarantee it. I definitely think that'll happen. We want to have that last year as a proper one. But I mean, there might not be a Freshers Festival. I mean, there most likely won't be a Freshers Festival in first term. Like an online Freshers Fair as well.
That's very weird, an online Freshers Fair. Like the whole thing about going as well, like getting all the tote bags and the pens and stuff, like very different.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit of a shame, because a lot of societies really do depend on being able to like connect to freshers in person during that freshers fair. So, I mean, we might end up seeing a lot of societies having to struggle with getting memberships and things, and sports teams, you know, struggling as well. But then in terms of like the more day-to-day changes, aside from the fact that, you know, there's a lack of events and activities around freshers week, it's going to be things like possibly using like one-way systems in corridors, and like online lectures, you know, predominantly being lecture captured and not really in person anymore, which I don't think is a massively bad change. But I just thought I'd close up this episode with a last little chat about, you know, some of the social aspects of some of the changes and how it might affect people, how you think it might affect you. And you know what you think people should be aware of to look out for, seeing as though you are sticking and you are aware that you want to make sure people don't sort of slip through the cracks a little bit. And you know, with all these restrictions and all of these changes, you know, people are going to be spending more times probably in their flats and in their rooms. Do you think, in terms of mental health and isolation, do you think more students will fall through the gaps and start having to rely on some of these mental health services like Open Door and Nightline and some of the, you know, like supervisor aspects and things like that? Do you think students will have to use that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it probably will be more likely that people are going to need to use those services. I think university can be really lonely anyway, so if we're not able to, you know, go and see people who maybe we don't live with, or, you know, go and make friends in our lectures, it's going to probably, you know, we're going to have less social interaction other than the people who we live with. Hopefully the departments will like make an effort to keep checking up on their students who aren't, like, you know, doing their work and stuff. My dad works at a university, and they're kind of looking at doing like fortnightly tutorials with people just to make sure that those who are like vulnerable are more likely to just stick it out in first year. I think they're quite worried about people dropping out in first year because of the way that it's going to be rather than what university should be. But yeah, I think hopefully lots of the services and support systems will be like expecting that and able to deal with it. But yeah, it's going to be weird.
Yeah, it is going to be weird. Do you feel like you might have a responsibility as a stick to then keep your connection with your flat a bit more for a bit longer?
100%, yeah. I was going to say, like, hopefully, you know, there'll be a group chat that everyone's in, and if anybody, like, needs help or whatever, or advice about university in general, like, we'll be on call if people feel that they want to reach out and stuff. But yeah, I think it's important to make sure that they know we're there if they need it, because university can be really hard. It
can be hard, but there's a lot of great things about uni as well, and I think people will realise that a lot more this term, hopefully, and make the most of the opportunities that come their way. But is there anything in the next few years at uni that you're really excited to get yourself stuck into, that you're really like pushing towards, that you want to?
Not anything that I've thought of, no. I think actually last year I joined netball, but I didn't really go to any training for it. I kind of just did the socials, so I'm excited to kind of make more of an effort with the training, and, you know, even if I don't play the games, like, just to like get involved,
get more involved,
get a bit fitter, like get better at it, because I did the socials, so I got to know people on the socials. But I think getting to know people on a night out is very different to getting to know them when you're sober and, you know, you're just playing as a team and stuff like that.
No, that's respectable. I think that'll be a lot of fun to get stuck into, and I think sports will become a big thing in people's enjoyment of first year. And, you know, you probably hopefully go on to maybe take part in Roses. Would you do that?
I think I'd probably be happier supporting from the side. I'm that sort of person,
I mean,
but like,
there's small scale versions of Roses with college varsity. Not a lot of people have heard of college varsity, but it is the smaller version that isn't Lancaster versus York. It's Derwent versus it's like a college. Yeah, it's college, basically.
Oh, I think that must have been what we've been doing all year then. Yeah, and then I think that's what we've been doing. I don't really know, to be honest.
Well, I hope you do very well with your sporting
Thank
endeavours,
you.
and whether you decide to go on and take part in the sport more often. And I hope you enjoy living in your second year house. And, you know,
I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, just to close this off, I'll give you some little bits of tips and advice about your second year house.
Great.
Definitely make friends with your neighbours, because chances are you'll be having a night where you're, you know, staying up late, and you might be making too much noise. And making friends with your neighbours is a good plan.
Yeah, true. I was going to say they'll be less likely to tell us to shut up, won't they?
Yeah, we had a few occasions where we had neighbours come round angrily and tell us to stop making noise. And if, you offset it with maybe a few gifts, maybe some chocolates, maybe a bottle of wine or something, it can go a long way. Trust me, it can go a long way. I'd recommend setting out an early rota in terms of cleaning, because my house was pretty bad in terms of cleaning. We didn't really put much emphasis on the fact that it needed to happen. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be really intense, but setting out like maybe this day a week, you do this, saying who takes out the bins when, it can help so much more, because when we came to finally have to do our like deep clean for the deposit to get everything back.
It might have been quite bad, yeah.
With the amount of mess, dust and rubbish and everything we had to clean up, I was wiping marks and streaks off the walls and paint and everything. And all of that could have been saved if, at the beginning, people had just been a bit more conscientious through the year about keeping things generally clean. So that's a good tip that I think you should bear in mind. Like, you don't have to be like super anal about it, but just, making sure you just clean up after yourself and things like that. It's really useful.
In terms of that, actually, my house next year is all very, very tidy. So hopefully we'll just set in a basic rota and everyone will follow it throughout the year. Yeah. I mean, they were the sort of people who would clean up after we'd had prees and they hadn't gone out, and we'd come back after we'd been out and the kitchen would be immaculate.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they were angel flatmates. So hopefully we should be okay.
I hope so. There are some people like that at university who just seem to either love cleaning or just get so frustrated that everyone else leaves it in such a mess that they just can't. They can't leave it alone.
Bless them, yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad because I know someone who was in our flat who was like that and just constantly cleaning our messes up. But yeah, you'll love second year. It's a great fun. It's a great experience. It will be slightly different, obviously. It's going to be slightly different for everyone. But we're getting through it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, we're going to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, Rhiannon.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, obviously, you are welcome on again if, this hopefully develops across the rest of first term, second term, the rest of the year. We'll see what happens. But wherever, do you want to plug anything before you leave that you're doing, or you want?
I'm trying to think. Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Where can they find it?
I don't know.
What's it called?
Rhiannon on YouTube. Just search
Brilliant.
Rhiannon.
There we go.
Fleetwood Mac song.
Yeah, go support her. She's got great content on there, and she's documenting her life and uni experience. It's great fun. But yeah, wherever you've been listening to this, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Google, just give us a nice rating. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. This has been episode 6 of University Everything in Between. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode.